for some professional guests on today. The first one I'd like to introduce is Dr. Greg Schulz, who has over 20 years of experience of leadership in the community colleges and higher education. Prior to his presidency, he served as provost of NOCCCD's School of Continuing Education for 3 years. Prior to that, he spent 2 years as Dean of Trades, Industrial, and Career Technology at Long Beach City College, as well as 4 years as Dean of Instruction and Student Services, and 5 years as the Manager of Administrative Services. He's also a certified public accountant, so he's a smart guy, and has accounting experience in the County of Orange and Vicente, Lloyd, and Stutzman. When he came aboard Fullerton College, one of the things that he said was he is excited and honored to have the opportunity to serve Fullerton College as president. Fullerton College has earned an outstanding reputation for being an innovative, student-centered institution of higher learning that is committed to serving our community. He looks forward to working closely with our faculty and staff and help our students thrive. That was 4 years ago, and he's doing a great job at that. So, Greg, welcome aboard this afternoon. The other one is I'd like to introduce is Cal State Fullerton's president. Fram Virjee is a first-generation college student, a product of public schools, and an immigrant who arrived in the United States at the age of 5 aboard the Queen Mary. That's a
no way.
Yeah. As president of Cal State Fullerton, the most populated university in the largest system of higher education in the country, Fram provides leadership for over 4,000 educators who collectively serve more than 40,000 students. It was the potential of these students and all students who looked at Cal State Fullerton as a beacon of hope and opportunity that compelled Fram to bypass retirement and join the Titan family in January of 2018. Since that time, he and his wife, Julie, have deeply immersed themselves in all facets of the Titan community, living and leading the engaged university experience the institution aims to provide for all of its faculty, staff, and students. Under his leadership, I can vouch for this, he has re-energized focus on equity, inclusion, and providing a transformational university experience. And then one of the other things is that he is a collaborative servant leader who describes his favorite part of his job as anything I get to do with students. Fram is also often found participating in classes, programs, and events, from guest lecturing in legal communication courses to rapping about Titan pride with a Cal State alum and everything in between. He is accessible on his daily campus walks and through his open door policy, welcoming all Titans to share their voice in an effort to uphold collegial governance and transparency as a foundation for growth and ascension. Fram, Greg, welcome aboard, and we really appreciate you being with us. So, Steph?
Before we get kicked off with Greg's update, for those of you watching, if you have questions for these fine gentlemen, please leave them in the comments on Century 21 Discovery's Facebook page. I am monitoring them, and we will do our very best to get your questions asked and answered. So with that, Greg, would you like to give us an update on all things Fullerton College, adjustments you've had to make and where you see yourselves going in the future?
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Joanne, Stephanie, Century 21 for inviting. I'll just say Dr. Fram Virjee, but we promised each other at the beginning of the call, okay, we're going to go with Greg and Fram. So Fram, we're really grateful for this opportunity to be with you and community and friends. So thank you for inviting us. I have to say, I was telling Fram, I need that Titan shirt. So my wife and I are proud Titan alum, School of Business, 1992. So I'll have to go to the bookstore, and that's it. I love the Titan gear there. So Fullerton College, wow, so much has happened, Fram, right? We talked earlier in the spring. We continue to carefully monitor what was happening in our state and our county. And it's been quite a spring for everyone, and I know that. So I should really begin. I'd like to begin with this. I hope everyone on this call and watching is safe. I hope you have what you need and the things that your family and friends need. We know there's a lot of struggle on our college and university campuses in our community. A lot of people are suffering, and so my hope is that you have access to the things that you need, and leading with an incredible group of faculty and staff to serve the students of Fullerton College. It really gives me hope because I'm surrounded every day by a group of faculty and staff who are resilient and students who are as or more resilient. Let me take you back to early March. In the Southern California region, as the data began clearer that there was a higher risk of the coronavirus, we were starting to get some initial data on testing. We began looking at other parts of our state and realizing we're going to be needing to plan to do things different very shortly. And in fact, for us, it was around the mid-March timeframe that we made a decision to close our college campus for a total of three traditional school days. And we're a part of a multi-college district. So Fullerton College, I should say, is one of 114 community colleges in the California system. And then locally, we're partners as part of the North Orange County Community College districts. And so that includes our district office. It includes Fullerton College, Cypress College, and North Orange Continuing Education. So our campuses, as part of the district, we're closely evaluating the data and making plans, working with faculty and staff on very short notice to transition to remote. So for us, I have to say, I'm so proud of our faculty, the staff who work with them, the managers to support them for really in a period of 3 school days, pivoting and launching remote instruction and student services in different phases within 3 days. That was a Herculean task. And I know my university partners had a similar challenge, and they rose to the challenge. So we'll take a look at spring. So for our spring semester, we had, about 2,400 class sections that had been in place. What we were able to do in a very short period of time, thanks to the faculty and staff who work with them, is move to remote instruction. We do have online classes. The majority of our classes haven't been online, and we utilized Canvas as a learning management system for some of you who know systems to support online instruction. But the vast majority were not online, yet they were moved to an either online or remote environment. In fact, within a couple of weeks of that conversion, we were able to confirm that about 95% of our course offerings successfully transitioned remotely or online format. 1% of those classes, by the way, were short-term classes, so they had completed. They were done in the first half of the semester. And then 4% were on hold until we could evaluate, would it be possible to come back? These are among the courses that are the most difficult and challenging to offer in a remote environment. Like many colleges, in particular community colleges, we are proud to offer a number of career education programs and certificates, or career technical education, welding, printing technology, manufacturing technology, cosmetology. And as you can imagine, some of those, they're wonderful programs that do not lend themselves to easily going online. So faculty in those areas have worked really hard to do whatever could be done remotely, with plans in place to help the students complete by any means necessary this term. So a little bit about student services too. Our student services teams gathered in that same 3-day period and began to remove remote for things like remote counseling, health services, which are now conducted in a remote environment as well, by phone and or Zoom in confidential settings. But by and large, we've got folks, the vast majority of the faculty and staff at the college are working away from 321 East Chapman and logging in through secure networks and things like this. We do have staff coming to campus in those roles that are deemed most essential to be done physically at the campus. We have teams coming in, of course, observing social distancing, wearing a mask and other protective gear. Let me start with our facilities and custodial crew, who's the best in the business. They've been caring for our campus, and given that there are needs for faculty and staff to come to the campus, some more than others, we have a system where they log in, and so we're always aware of where was someone on the campus in an otherwise quiet part of the campus, and then our team will go in and thoroughly clean and disinfect the area to maintain a safe environment. Our campus safety heroes, the women and men who work on campus safety, they are there in normal times 24/7, and in a pandemic they're there 24/7. So they're keeping our campus secure and safe in shifts, again, equipped with protective equipment and gear. Talk a little bit about our planning for academic semesters. And I know later we'll probably get a chance to respond to more specific questions, but I do want to mention that as we got through the spring, we quickly needed to determine, like other colleges and universities, what's the status for summer? Would it be safe to reopen? Would we be permitted to reopen? And we made a decision to stay in remote status for the summer semester. Our summer semester will begin June 8th. It'll end by no later than August, the second week of August, and then we would resume instruction in late August for our fall semester. So that has been our planning. And again, with much credit to the faculty of Fullerton College, they had already did a quick pivot to convert the classes that were mid-semester to go to a remote format. And then while there's a number of classes we offer every fall and sometimes in the summer, often what we offer in the summer is unique to summer. And so there was a lot of time and energy invested into being prepared for summer in a remote environment, in the college providing professional development and training and support to meet faculty and staff wherever they were at, to provide any resources we could to help them excel in an online environment. And one of the things we talk about, and I want to acknowledge right now, this is not easy work. This is work that brings a lot of us joy. We love working in education. It's something that I know is the case at Cal State Fullerton. Certainly for Fullerton College, we love what we do. We get a lot of personal joy from helping our students succeed. And it is grueling for our faculty and staff, and I'm thinking of the student services and all the areas we help our students, who are always committed to doing their best for our students. And we need to look out for each other and remind each other, hey, you're doing a great job. You're doing the best that anyone could do. Because sometimes what I found is our team, people are really difficult on themselves. And we find ourselves saying, hey, you're doing great. Oh my gosh, like, give yourself a break. These pandemics, we've never had one of these before. We've never operated a college in this sort of environment. So I mentioned summer. We have also made a decision to remain in remote status for the fall semester. And that has a lot to do with, we learned a lot in the spring in listening to our students and our faculty and staff. And the students need as much time as possible to make plans. We know there's a lot of considerations, and our faculty who are leading said classes need the same. So we have communicated, and we're finalizing our fall schedule, that we will continue in remote status. It's possible that we will have a few, like a limited number of classes in person. At this moment, we couldn't say what those are, but we've asked the departments to be thinking about that, especially for those departments where it's the most difficult to operate remotely, so that we can evaluate when it's safe to come back, what are the conditions we'd have in place, marking for social distancing, all of the right PPE, all of the right cleaning protocols, so that if instruction or labs did occur on the campus, that we're prepared in advance and we have confidence in the students and the faculty and staff have confidence that their safety is maintained. So, but by and large, the summer and the fall, it's our plan to offer remote instruction. Spring, to be determined. We've got a little bit more time for spring. Personally, I always say, when it's safe, I can't wait to get back to campus. Like Fram can relate to, we've talked about this, and we've both been on each other's campuses. We get a lot of joy from personally walking around the campus to support our faculty and staff, meeting our students. I would agree, it's one of the most rewarding things that we get to do as part of our job. We miss that a lot, right? I miss that a lot, so much. I'm proud of the faculty and staff and students for their resiliency. I know why we're not on campus currently. We're going to be absolutely committed to the safety and well-being of the campus community. But when it's safe to come back, I can't wait. I'm miss seeing my campus community family. If I could, just a couple other things, and I know again that we'll come back to the discussion, but let me want to just glance to a couple of statistics. The CARES Act. So the CARES Act, or the federal stimulus plan, right? So the colleges and universities were the recipients of some CARES Act dollars. And I'll just say, from my perspective, I'm really grateful that we were. While I'm grateful, I know that one of the difficult things that we've endured as colleges and universities is that following the strict guidelines that came with the funds, it doesn't permit us to help all of our students, something that we're committed to in everything we do. So we've had to think, okay, how do we honor the law, follow the guidelines, but find different and additional ways to help our students. And as a community college chancellor's office in Sacramento, they've given the field guidelines. We've been looking at some funding opportunities that normally would not be permitted, but we've been given during the pandemic permission to use some of our student equity and achievement funding that's normally a part of our base funding at the college to direct aid and assistance to students, particularly those students who, according to the guidelines, were not permitted to use the CARES Act funding to help, including students who happen to be undocumented. So it's been really important to us and many colleges and universities to find a way to help all of our students. So with the CARES Act funding, by the way, at Fullerton College, that totaled about $4.7 million. And recently we got word of another additional augmentation that might total $600,000. So about $5.3 million, half of which, or no less than half, is to be directed to direct aid to students. So we established a process, we've begun the distribution. Currently, we've processed payments to over 2,600 students for amount totaling a little over 1.3 million. So that work continues. I'm very grateful to our financial aid staff, especially, and all those working with them to make this possible for the students. Let's see, commencement plans. We're all thinking about that. This is very difficult for our graduates, their families, and their campus family members, us, who love celebrating their success. So I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to do it. I think each college and universities tried to do the best they could to serve the campus and what the campus prefers. And in our case, we surveyed our students. We decided to survey the graduates. And what we learned from the survey is that about 71% of the students strongly expressed an interest in a rescheduled in-person celebration. They said, we know you don't know when it would be. We just ask you to please be open to rescheduling an in-person, because the vast majority of our students, over 2/3, are the first in their family to graduate from college. So we're proud to serve first generation college students, the majority of our students who are first generation. And so we had decided, first and foremost, we've tentatively rescheduled that celebration for December after the fall semester. We also recognize we have a number of our students who won't be able to attend such a ceremony because of their transfer goals. They may be transferring out of the region. And so to honor them, we're producing a commencement video that'll be posted on Saturday. And we invited all students who are graduating and interested to let us know. We sent them what we call a Buzzy care package, and it had a cap and gown and some Fullerton College bling, Fullerton College alumni license plate holder. Those are being distributed today and tomorrow to the students. And so we're going to be celebrating them in a way virtually or via video, not a live event, but a video that's put together, which invites their pictures and images, and we'll post that on Saturday. And then our plan is to have a rescheduled in-person in December. If beyond our control, we learn that we're not permitted to gather in December like that, then we will look to next May and have sort of a celebration with twice as many students in one place. That's our hope. Certainly our hope is that we could celebrate in person in December.
I love that you guys are so focused on, you've said this multiple times, on all of your students. And that's just so special. And I can't even imagine graduations. Last week when we were talking to the high school superintendent, he was the same thing. You know, what are we going to do? We understand that this is such a difficult time because it's so exciting, but we can't be there in person. And talking about those either virtual graduations, but then an in-person one at a later date to accommodate, because it is such a special time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Thank
you. If I could end my comments with a couple of points that have certainly been critically important to us, and that is how to address the gaps that our students are experiencing. Particularly, a lot of our students, these scholars, have extraordinary need, even as they attend college, and this pandemic only amplified that level of need. And so we've had a productive and really rewarding partnership with Pathways of Hope on our campus for a campus food bank. And before we had that wonderful partnership, this is an effort that was started by 2 faculty members and one of our former vice presidents of student services. This was Chris Lamadela Lopez and Tony Dubois. And so it's been an incredible resource on our campus. We're recently partnering with Pathways, but again, we find ourselves with the campus closed. What do? Well, Pathways said, we're going to open up our doors to the community hub, the Hub of Hope, up the street from us. And they've been serving our students there. And recently, they also partnered with us and Sodexo, who's our food service provider on campus, to start a twice-a-week food distribution. It's been going on Thursdays and Fridays. In the summer, we just talked about having it be on Thursdays. But we have a weekly food distribution for those students in need. We also ordered a significant number of laptop computers, because when we surveyed our students, we learned that 9% of them did not have access to a reliable computer. For us, in the spring, we had about 20,000 students. So that's 1,800 students without a reliable computer. So we actually ordered 1,700 computers, and we're prepared to order more. We have not yet distributed all of those we ordered, but we've distributed a great deal of those. And then we converted one of our parking lots. We strengthened the Wi-Fi signal near it, and it's sort of an on-campus Wi-Fi parking lot for those students who struggle with Wi-Fi accessibility away from the campus. So that's a little bit about Fullerton College. I'll just close by saying I'm so proud to work alongside such, radically student-centered faculty and staff, and students who are so resilient. They make us very proud. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. That's just incredible for everything you guys are doing for your students, and I'm sure it's much appreciated across the board. Fram, how about a good update from Cal State Fullerton and what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Sure, glad to do it. Glad to be here, and a special shout out to Greg and Fullerton College. As we've always said, we love our partnership with each other. We do so much together, and couldn't be more proud to both have Fullerton in our name, by the way. The city of Fullerton is hugely important to us as well. But we have a synergistic relationship that I would not change for anything. So on behalf of our faculty and staff and our 40,000 students, it's an honor to be with you today. I would say it's my first virtual Facebook Live event, but that would probably be my first virtual Facebook Live event this week. But like a lot of you, we're getting used to a lot of firsts. A few months ago, I teased my faculty and I tell them that they thought that Zoom was some kind of popsicle that you bought at Albertsons. And now they're using it as their learning platform for 30,000 students. A few months ago, we were preparing to welcome 80,000 people to campus to celebrate commencement. And this weekend, I stood in a driveway in my regalia and a mask waving as graduates as they came out of their cars and with their parents, and we took social distancing pictures. A few months ago, my beard was brown, and now look at me. What has happened? What has happened? So what have we done to be sure, despite the gray beard, I've never been more proud to be a Titan, a member of the Titan family. We've achieved so much in this pandemic. In the course of a couple of days, literally, we moved 40,000 students to virtual learning, 3,500 faculty to virtual instruction, 6,000 people to working from home, 2,000 students had to move out of our dorms, but yet we kept our dorms open for our foster youth and for our international students or students who didn't have another place to go. Our library went virtual for reference and research. So everything that you could do when you walked into the library, you can now do virtually. At first, our admissions and financial aid folks said, no way, we have to go to work. I tell you what, our financial aid and admissions offices are completely virtual and they're doing an amazing job. Supplemental instruction, extra tutoring up and running virtually. Student success centers up and running virtually. Our student support networks, our co-curricular activities, our special population groupings, all our clubs, they're all virtual. Even welcome to Cal State Fullerton Day, 15,000 people that come to Cal State Fullerton to see if maybe they want to come in the fall, went virtual, and it really did an amazing, had an amazing time. And like Greg, we've handed out over 1,000 laptops to our students, MiFi cells so that they can have cell service. So we really worked hard and it has been an amazing transition. I know without a doubt that if I had said 2 months ago or maybe 3 months ago to my faculty, well, I'm going to choose a time. I'm not going to tell you when it is, but in the next 3 months, I'm just going to call you up and say, we're going to teach everything virtually. Tarred, feathered, and run out of town is what I think would have happened. But look what we did. Unbelievable faculty, staff, students, amazing. On top of that, we then immediately turned to dealing with our students and the stress that they're feeling, our faculty are feeling. Students whose parents have lost their jobs, whose siblings have lost their jobs, whose significant others have lost their jobs. I had this gut-wrenching story from a senior this year who's in his last semester, who's been working 20 hours a week at Albertsons every week during school, and now he's working 80 hours a week at Albertsons. And he called to tell me that he was going to withdraw from school for this semester. He just had to. And I said, at first I said, no. And he said, look, even if I could study, I can't do it emotionally and intellectually. I'm taking care, I'm supporting my brothers and sisters and my mom and dad with my job. And I said, go. So anyway, amazing kids, amazing things that they're doing. It's important to note that the innovative work that we're doing at Cal State Fullerton is not just at Cal State Fullerton. Our nursing students are out working county disaster relief as part of the pandemic. Our Latino Communication Initiative is leading the Spanish language information piece for COVID-19, informing our Hispanic community about what's going on. Our alums, like Tam Nguyen, one of our favorite alums in Little Saigon that runs Advanced Beauty College, has started a national movement for masks and PPEs, and all the nail salons that were using their masks for other purposes have now donated those. Our economic forecast folks still did their forecast this year for everybody. Our startup incubator students, we have students that were working in a startup incubator who actually developed some software that's now saving lives as part of the COVID response. The seedlings from our arboretum, Veggiepalooza, I love Veggiepalooza every year, was supposed to be the week that we shut down. 6,000 plants that we had. And I would ride my bike past the arboretum every day and think, oh, those poor plants, they look so lonely. What is going to happen to them? And then they were gone. And I thought, what happened? Well, we found homes for them in all these food deserts across Southern California. In community gardens, we planted those plants all over. They're growing them at the Great Park so that they can give the food to Second Harvest so that there's food. So all 6,000 plants are now flourishing all over Southern California. That's the story of what's happening in our community, in our Fullerton community. Our faculty and students, they're not just continuing to teach, they're providing emergency loans and grants to people. We're, as I said, distributing the computers and equipment, working on payment plans and debt forgiveness for our students, but always with empathy that is needed, because as much as the students need physical support right now, they need emotional support as well. We actually set up an emergency Titan fund for our students and faculty and staff, one for faculty and staff, one for students. Julie and I, we committed 10% of our take-home pay to those funds as a jump start to get those going. And so now those are community members from all over Southern California are contributing to those. You know, it's just, I've never been more proud of the idea of Titans reaching high, or it takes a Titan to mean something, the weight of that. Now, that's the good news. The grim reality of this is, while we've succeeded beyond, I think, all reasonable expectations, and have become I think, an emerging system-wide leader in the 23 CSU system, and working with Cal State, with Fullerton College, I think we are leaders for higher education for what we're doing. We still have some real challenges when it comes to the fundamental needs of our most vulnerable students who are really struggling, as Greg was talking about. We've been making some inroads to helping them with our basic needs center and food pantry stuff that Greg was talking about, but it is still really tough for our students out there. Like Greg, about 60% of our students are first-generation students. We are a majority-minority institution where we are the best hope for these students to raise themselves up, raise their families up, create community, not just for themselves, but for the future of Orange County. I hate to see or think about their progress to degree being interrupted. The CARES Act that Greg described has provided some relief, as he mentioned. We were lucky. We got $20 million to distribute to students directly, and that started last week and is being distributed to all those students who are eligible. When I said all those students are eligible, those are only students that have a federal financial aid form, a FAFSA form on file. That means that all our international students, all our undocumented students, all our DACA students are not eligible. So we've had to find other sources to cobble together to help them, and we're working hard on that. The good news is, at the same time, the California State University system has something called a state university grant program. For every dollar that we take in student aid, or in student tuition, we take 33 cents and set it aside for student financial aid, our own internal program. This is separate from the Cal State system or from federal system. And so using that money at Cal State Fullerton, just at Cal State Fullerton, in the last 2 months, we were able to distribute $10 million in student aid to our students from that fund. It is now completely depleted. We had, that was money that we had in reserve, but that's what reserves are for. And so we've, so with the CARES Act, and with this state university grant money, we are helping as much as we can for our students. There's still a lot to go. But the losses, Greg will tell you, are mounting for higher education, most generally across the country, but within in California at CSUF in particular. We've spent all this money, $750,000 already on IT that we never thought we would spend to go out and get computers and Wi-Fi and wire up our classrooms. We have already rebated $12 million to our students for student housing and student parking. Those are self-support programs, and we still have to pay the bills. We still have to pay the underlying bond infrastructure to keep those running. So, we are looking into the ether to see where we're going to get that money for the future. So that is difficult. I don't want to diminish the economic hardship that our students are suffering, but higher education is in for a very, very rocky road. If you saw the budget from the May revise from the governor, the California system suffered a 10% cut in funding from the governor going into next year before he even knows what the tax receipts for income tax are going to be. I expect we'll suffer another cut on top of that. So we are in a hiring freeze. We are looking for ways to preserve and influence where we spend our money in the best places. We have a good strategic plan in place, a master plan in place, and committed to our graduation initiative. So we are allocating our resources to make sure we're spending them in a way that assures student success. That is the most important piece of that. So it's going to be an interesting time for us when it comes to finances for the next couple of years. So what are the big questions that we're facing? Obviously, we're grappling, as Greg talked about, with how to re-enter. How do we go about doing this? And last week, the chancellor for the system announced that we were going primarily virtual. That is probably misleading. What he probably should have said is virtually virtual, almost completely, because what he has said is there have to be, the only way that you'll have anything on campus is if there's an exception approved first by the president and then by the chancellor, and you have to justify that there is absolutely no way to do this instruction in any other way. So Greg talked about some of the things on his campus. For us, it's engineering labs where the students would never be able to use the physical machinery to learn about engineering, or our nursing simulation lab where we need to get those nurses out there into the community, but they need to work in the sim lab, or our wet labs for biology and chemistry where they're studying how to cure the coronavirus, and at the same time we're telling them that you can't come to your classes. So there will be very, very limited in the fall, very limited instruction. And what we've been told, what we've decided is, no matter how we offer up that instruction, we will be sure that it is going to be able to be delivered virtually and face-to-face at the same time. Because folks, you cannot argue with this biology. You cannot change the biology. And all the epidemiologists that I talk to, and I'm talking to healthcare experts all the time about this, they tell me, when this wave is over and we're getting to the end of this wave in June, we should expect another small one in August. And then in October, November, we should expect another wave that's actually bigger than the one we're experiencing now. That's the way all these pandemics have panned out over the course of centuries, is that's how they work. So we want to be able to pivot to virtual learning no matter what. So even for the small on-campus stuff that we have going, we need to make sure that it's virtual. So we've decided it's easier to pivot from virtual to face-to-face. If the good news is that wave never comes, by golly, we'll be back on campus for darn sure. I can't wait. But I don't want to be on campus and then having to leave again. So that's the way we're working on it. Interesting information that might be interesting to your listeners, viewers, about enrollment. As far as enrollment is concerned, every metric that we have, the number of applications, more than 80,000 last year, more than 80,000 this year. The number of acceptances are higher this year than they were last year. The number of students that given us a deposit to come to school, so indicating I'm going to come, higher this year than last year. So we're hopeful and expecting that both for our first-time freshmen and our great community college transfer students from Fullerton College and some of the other community colleges are going to come to us, even if it's going to have to be virtual for that first semester. But we're still not sure, what that summer, we call it the summer melt, how many of them will melt away and not show up because they'll think maybe I'll take a gap year or maybe have to work because mom and dad lost their job. So we're waiting to see what it's going to look like. Right now we have about 5,500 first-time high school freshmen who are looking to come, and about 4,500 community college transfer students that are looking to come. So we'll see what that melt looks like. Inside Higher Ed had an article last week that said that they polled students, and 1 in 6 students said that they were planning to put off their college plans coming into the fall. I can't emphasize to those that are listening that that's not a good idea enough, that's not a good idea. This is the time to go to college. This is the time to go to college, folks. Don't stop out and don't forget to start. Let's just start this and get it going. This is a college degree, a university degree is life transforming. That's why Greg and I are in this business. We want to make the world a better place. And there's no better time to do it right now. Tomorrow is a day too late. Make sure you do it right now. You know, on the fundraising front, we had just started our first comprehensive philanthropic campaign in the university's history a week before the pandemic hit. So we had our kickoff for some donors, and then we were going to have our community donor that you were kickoff that you were all going to be invited to, and you were all going to be there. We're going to be having bacon and eggs together, and oh my gosh, canceled the whole thing. Now the good news is we were able to source out all that food to the homeless, which is great. But gosh darn it, I want to get together for this campaign kickoff. So I can't wait to get back and work on that. That's what up in the right-hand corner of my slide, It Takes a Titan. That's our campaign, and we're working on it. But things are going well at Cal State Fullerton. This is a new reality that we are in. It is a new normal. I am calling COVID-19 the black swan of higher education. I stole that from the Chronicle of Higher Education. I better give them credit because they'll think I'm plagiarizing. That's not a good thing for a college president to do. But what does that mean by that? We are going to be different coming out of this. No longer are you going to be an online education institution or a face-to-face education institution. There are going to be hybrid classes. There are going to be kids that can come to class when they can, and when your car breaks down, you can still go to class on your phone, and you're going to come to class for labs, and you're going to be able to watch your lectures when they're recorded. There's going to be synchronous and asynchronous. It's going to be much, much more vivid and exciting higher education in the decades to come, because we've been forced to change, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. You know, Cal State Fullerton, we are #1 in California for graduating women, #1 in California for graduating Hispanics with a BA, #2 in the nation for for graduating underrepresented students of color. So I'm really excited that we are on the cutting edge of being able to do this for our students, for Orange County, because you know we have 300,000 alumni from Cal State Fullerton, and Greg is one of our one of my most favorite, we are the future. Half the teachers, half the nurses, half the accountants. We will be Orange County. And what we are today, Orange County will be tomorrow, and California the next day. So we prepare our students to be entrepreneurs and civic leaders and community organizers. So we're not going to stop. We're not going to let this stop us by any stretch of the imagination. We're going to be proud and strong and taking care of our own and working in community with you and everybody else that wants to work with us to get through this and come out the other side stronger and better.
Your passion is just infectious, I might add.
I love this place. It's an amazing place.
Passion comes out when you truly love something. I've got a few questions for you, Fram, if that's okay.
Sure.
This first one came in. We've heard of some high schools adjusting their grading system during times like this because of COVID, and maybe not receiving letter grades, but a pass and fail. How is that affecting, or has it affected applicants moving in, and how is either university and Fullerton College, how are you guys handling that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I might start by saying this isn't just an issue in the high schools, it's an issue in the universities. So we did one of the most innovative things. I was very proud. What we did is we told all our students, keep taking your courses and your professors will keep grading you. And at the end, you'll get the grade, and you get to see your grade first, and then you'll decide whether you want to take the class for credit, no credit. You can change to credit, no credit if you want to. So keep trying, keep coming to class, keep trying, because we wanted to encourage students. For applications for fall coming in now, the students already have their GPAs and they're already been admitted. And if they take a class credit, no credit, or pass not pass in spring, it's not going to make any difference for them going forward. The CSU announced that we will no longer be requiring the SAT or the ACT during the COVID-19 pandemic. So we're going to use other factors for admission, including GPA. But we are going to pay close attention. We see the whole transcript. We see your whole history in high school. And we know that one semester, or maybe two now, is COVID related, right? We're going to put an asterisk on our transcripts for grad school, and asterisk going to say COVID-19. And we're going to see every high school student's transcript and see the same thing. Greg, I know you may have something else to add.
Thank you, Fram. So in the same light, we've also had discussions led by our faculty senate at the college this spring about grading options, particularly given this pandemic and the emergency students find themselves in. And they adopted, and we've been communicating with students, the use of pass, no pass as an option, as well as what we call excused withdrawal, or EW for short. An excused withdrawal can be submitted all the way up through May, basically through this week, as well as a pass, no pass. And we were so thankful to our CSU partners. Both CSU and UC took a look at the traditional grades and what it means and what the implications would be from a pass, no pass. And our students are supported both at our institution and their destination institution for those options. So it won't negatively impact them.
Perfect. Thank you. Another question, Fram, this is directed to you in regards to tuition. Is tuition planning on remaining the same for the fall semester as it was initially, or are there going to be any adjustments made?
Tuition will remain the same. Well, first of all, tuition is set by the system, not by Cal State Fullerton. So I can only expect that tuition will remain the same because the Board of Trustees decides that issue for the entire system. But let me expand upon that just a little bit. There have been some suggestions to us that tuition should be rebated or reduced because of the virtual learning environment and that people didn't sign up for virtual learning. I want to make sure that I address that. The same learning outcomes for our students are the learning outcomes that we will expect them to be able to achieve through virtual learning as physical face-to-face learning. And in fact, over the summer, for the professional development from our faculty, we're going to help them embed assessment into fall learning so that we can actually demonstrate that to be the case. But tuition is paid in exchange for students receiving instruction. Instruction hasn't stopped. Instruction is still there. Students are still getting the credit for that instruction. And frankly, the cost structure that we have is still the same or greater than it was for face-to-face learning, because not only have we had to expend all these additional resources and fund all these rebates, but we're continuing to pay all our employees during this time. There are also some student fees that are attached, like the fees for the Student Rec Center or for the Titan Student Union. And students have asked, why do I have to pay those fees if I don't get to use those facilities? Which is a completely reasonable inquiry. On those fees, the story is actually different. Those fees were imposed by students on themselves. They voted to assess themselves in order to raise money to build the Titan Student Union or to build the rec center. And many, many years before those were built, the students had to build up those reserves. So there are lots of students that never use those facilities. And there's plenty of students who come to Cal State Fullerton every day and never step in the rec center. They probably should, but they never do. Or the Titan Student Union as well. So I say that only to make it clear. These are not user fees. These are fees that pay the bond assessments, the underlying mortgages, in order to keep those things going. And so those will continue as well.
Good. Thank you. Joe, did you have a question? I saw you writing a couple things down.
I didn't have any questions. I just got a couple of comments, and I was talking with a friend of mine this morning, and you both kind of talked about this a little bit, is, we worry about momentum and a great deal of momentum was going on. I mean, in every sector, just a lot of momentum and a lot of momentum in the university and the colleges. And, we're concerned about, or our hope is that people don't get too comfortable at home. That we need to have some sort of good social reaction. And, so we worry about that and just getting out and about and restarting this thing. And that while there's no, and Fram, you're right as well, as the second go around of this thing could make the current one look like an amateur. But I think that, we just don't want people to get too comfortable being there, which leads me to my other question, which is you've both got housing issues. And my assumption is those housing are going to be empty for a lot of these for a little bit of time here. Am I right on that one?
So I'll start with the housing and then go back to the momentum piece, and then I'm sure Greg will want to talk as well. For housing, what we will do is we will fill our housing to the extent we are allowed to by the state and by the County Office of Health, but it'll be much less dense. So we will have, instead of doubles and triples, we all remember those from college. They're going to be singles. We'll charge for the double or triple or whatever it was, but we're only going to be able to house like 600 kids instead of 2,000 kids. Right. But let me tell you what I'm worried about is we have to do, if we close down our housing completely, some of those kids are going to go live somewhere, and they'll go live in housing that we have no control over, and they may triple or quadruple up. And so I'm worried about that. I'm also worried about paying the debt service on my housing as well. But we will only do it to the extent that it's safe, and we can ensure that it's safe, and we are following all the CDC protocols and everything else. On the momentum piece, we had momentum before COVID-19 started.
Yeah.
But in higher education, Greg and I will share a little bit of a secret with you. Higher education is, I was going to say like a Titanic, but Titanic sink. That's not right. More like an aircraft carrier. It's hard to change direction of higher education. And so there was a lot of, we've done it always this way, and we should keep doing it this way forever and ever because it's worked. There's a lot to be said for momentum. It takes a lot to stop an aircraft carrier, but there's a lot to be said for disruption as well. And this has created a disruption in our economy, in our higher education milieu, and all over, that will mean that we have to take stock and start a new normal. We're going to come out of this. We're not going to be in lockdown forever. COVID-19, there will be a vaccine. We will have herd immunity. Something will happen, and we will be able to come out of this. And when we come out of it, we need to come out of it better, stronger, more vibrant, and learning from what we learned from it. And so what we need to do is take this time, instead of being complacent. I'm working harder than I've ever worked during normal time, because we're analyzing all the, when we come out, what are we going to do different to make it better? Right? Right.
Yeah. Well, housing, we're a little bit unique to our university partners is we're not a residential college, and we don't even have a few dozen housing units. We have never had that. And so our students in large part come to campus, they drive to campus. We have a new partnership with OCTA where they can ride the bus for free. But we don't have housing on campus. So we also experience, though, a high percentage of our students who struggle with housing insecurity. And so we work with community partners, Pathways of Hope, and others to help put students connected to resources, community resources, to find housing solutions. On the notion of, I like your analogy, and yeah, it's kind of like turning the ship, for better, for worse. It does, take a lot of deliberate energy and takes time to turn the ship, but we're all, we're on board the ship, and we're creating a new experience together. We're in our second century at Fullerton College. So we're excited about the next century, but one of the things that I don't think it's unique to Fullerton College and Cal State Fullerton, but I think we're included in this, is this pandemic has exposed some of the challenges that have been in place before this happened. And in many places beyond our control, they are magnified. In other words, those community members in our community who struggle with even, housing, access to computers and the like, this pandemic has magnified that for us. So it's a huge opportunity for us, and we're working through that. I feel like there's nobody better than the folks I work with to help define how we're going to be next. But a part of that too, as human beings, is it's okay to acknowledge grief and struggle, because when you care deeply, and Fram does, we talked about this in his campus community, when you care deeply about what you do, it is gut-wrenching to have your community members struggle, and everyone's struggling in different ways. But again, for those in our campus family who were struggling before this pandemic has really exposed the significant gaps that exist in our city, county, in our school. So we've got to look at it, and we are looking at it from the standpoint of how can we do even better? How can we learn from our students, learn from each other, to continue to grow and put more things in place so we're better equipped to help our students and our community succeed. And as Fram alluded to, we're all, business, industry, education, all the sectors, we're in the beginning of a significant adjustment with regard to our state and local economy. And we're going to be working through all that. I know our K-12 partners last week, same thing. So we're going to be doing our best to preserve all the things that we do for our community in a time with a different level of resources. There was a mention of fees too. The community college system is the same. In the design for Education California, the community college has been less per unit. It's currently $46 a unit. And that is set at the system level. So we don't have local discretion about altering that. One of the things that we had before the pandemic, which we're really excited about for our students, is a promise program. And I think of the value that in our region for a student to go directly to Cal State Fullerton, or to start at Fullerton College and then to transition to Cal State Fullerton. The value that is in place there. A student could go full-time for 2 years, tuition free at Fullerton College, and then transfer to Cal State Fullerton for an incredible value for such a high quality education. And then we think of the cost around California and outside of California. It is such an extraordinary value. And we both know, it's asking the world of many in our community to afford the current cost. But in terms of the cost of higher education, I'm really proud of the opportunities that our college and our university partners present to students in our region.
You both are just phenomenal leaders, and going through the comments, so many thank yous. Thank you for keeping their students safe. A lot of them have kids that go to both schools. A lot of former Titans are on watching as well. So in closing, Joe.
I do want to say, just close up one more thing. And Stephanie, you alluded to it right now, which is both of you guys are just inspiring. And thank you very much for coming on with us. And then, talking about leadership can be a total lonely spot from time to time. And you guys have done an amazing job. And you talk about changing and making your pivots and changing direction and all of those items. And to go virtual as quickly as you did is phenomenal. That in itself is just a mind-staggering, thought process. And then finally, I just want to close up my part by telling you both, you're doing a great job, guys. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you. Good job.
You both mentioned quite a bit of resources for students. if anybody, parent, student, has any questions or needs any more information, is there either a phone number or email website that they can go to? Greg, I'll start with you.
Yes, the best and easiest source to remember is our Fullerton College website, and embedded on the front page of the website is a section dedicated to coronavirus and the resources. So within a link of that, it'll open up a menu of student resources. So that website is www.fullcoll.edu, fullcoll.edu. We also share a lot on our social media. And then I always tell folks too, who know me or who don't know me, call my office. I work with an incredible group of really smart women and men who care deeply about our students. If I can't answer right away, I know I work with someone who can. And so we invite certainly inquiries through our office, and we'll put a teammate in touch with a family or a student to help them do anything we can.
Thank you. And Fram, how about you?
So we have giving.fullerton.edu/emergency funds. That's that's for providing funds to faculty and staff and students that are in need because of COVID-related activity. And for questions, you probably think I'm crazy, but president@fullerton.edu, send them to me. We will answer them. I get questions from the community all the time. This is my community. I am very proud to be a Fullertonian, and I want, excuse me, our greater community to have faith and trust in what we're doing as a university. So send me the questions. I promise you, if you send me a question, we will get back to you without a doubt. But I do want to say to everybody that's listening that you've heard a theme throughout this, hopefully a hopeful theme, a positive theme from both of us about this, but also a little bit of a concern about the needs of our students and meeting our students where they are. I don't want you to think of this as charity or even philanthropy. I want you to think of this as an investment into our community and into the future. These students are the future of Orange County. They are going to live and be your neighbors or your children's neighbors. Their kids are going to go to school with your grandkids. This is what made Orange County great to start with, and is what will keep it great and make it even better by building that community. So this is an investment into the institutions that serve our community, to raise civic-minded humans that want to give back, want to take care of people, want to vote, want to be part of the solutions. I am so proud that my son went to Fullerton College and now he's at Cal State Fullerton. This is we live this, we believe in it, and I just can't emphasize enough how important it is for our community to join hands with us. We join hands with our community too, and want to help in any way we can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fram. Can I mention one thing briefly?
Yes.
I mentioned something that's very, very important. And at Fullerton College, we partner with the Fullerton College Foundation. And so if you Google Fullerton College Foundation, or they're at fullcallfoundation.org, they are helping us in a big way, help our students. If you're in a position to help and you're listening, just know that anything you can do is greatly appreciated. At the Fullerton College Foundation, they've helped us receive funds and donate emergency funds to students in need. So thank you.
Perfect. And I will drop the email addresses and those websites in the comments below after we're done. But thank you, boys.
Yeah, we're going boys for sure. I love that. That's the best part of this whole thing so far. Thanks, boys.
Thank you guys so much for spending time with us today. We really enjoy it. The comments are just coming in. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You guys are doing incredible things, and your students, your faculty, and your communities, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, at least. So thank you for spending time with us today. Next Monday's Memorial Day. We've been doing this every Monday. We're hoping to get an extra special guest on Tuesday, so stay tuned for that. But until then, you guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.
Go Titans and Hornets. Go Titans and Hornets.
Go Hornets, go Titans.
Bye.
Bye. Take
Bye,
care,
all.
everyone.
Thank you.
All righty.